1%, maybe a half percent, but 3% is too much.
Hi, everyone. This is Matthew Kruse. I'm filling in for Marlon Bowling, who is out on vacation this week. So you're stuck with me. I have with me today the coolest farmer in all of Brazil, Gustavo Magni. Gustavo, how are you?
I'm good. And what about you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad that this worked out, and I think that you're an interesting guy, and I write a report called the Comstock Report, and I will reference conversations that I've had with farmers, and you're one of the people that I reference sometimes. That I say, I don't say your name, but I say I talked to this guy, and he says this is what's happening in Brazil on his farm, and I want people maybe think I make that stuff up, but I don't. I'm actually talking to people, and you're one of those people that I talk to. So
Yeah,
maybe give our
we talk so much to
yeah.
change the information to talk about the crop in USA, in Brazil, every
That's
week.
right. I give you the lowdown on what's going on in the United States because the same people that I'm talking to, I want information on Brazil. They want information on the United States and what's going on. So a good exchange of information. Well,
Yeah,
maybe starting out, why don't you give just a brief background on who you are and what you're about, where you're from, what you're doing, and all the good stuff.
my family come from Rio Grande do Sul in 1981, 82 to start to grow soybeans in Minas Gerais. Do you know, in the center of Brazil. And my dad started to grow soybean seeds since 1984, 1985. And after this, we started to grow coffee, to grow corn, to grow wheat, and other crops. And 2018, we started to grow in Mato Grosso. Is a little part of our story.
I met you in my wife's hometown in Minas Gerais, and so that's how we kind of met and became friends. And you also have a a grain physical grain trading company too, correct?
Yeah, we started to buy soybeans, corn, and sorghum in Minas Gerais, and we sell these products in Santos. Do you know the port of Santos? Yeah, we sell there.
You're creating a lot of competition for Cargill and Bunge.
Yeah, yeah. Like we sell to the big four.
Okay. I don't think people realize in Brazil that there's a lot of physical grain brokerage done, a lot of middleman, I suppose, where here in the United States, we tend to sell more directly to the co-op or to the end user, as we say. But in Brazil, there's a lot of grain brokers. And I'm talking about physical grain brokers. And that's one of the things that you do.
In Brazil, there's a lot grain brokers because you send your truck in the farm and you can take the soybeans. You can help the farmer with information, with logistic, with other things. And the farmers look the brokers with good eyes.
So you're providing information on what the market is doing and logistics, sending trucks out, things like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, the planting season is going on right now. How is the growing season going for you in Mato Grosso? What can you tell me about it?
This year the climate is good. Raining too much. The with a good raining every day or 2 days are rainy. Is good. This year is good. No problem with climate.
So almost raining too much. I've heard that from a couple other people.
Last week raining too much, but this week started with a good rain. Sometimes a good sun, and it's okay. It's good to the fields.
And your farm is kind of right in the center part of the state, the north center part of Mato Grosso,
In the north.
more northern part. Okay,
Yeah.
all
In the
right,
north, it's raining too much than the south this year.
okay, all right. Um, and so from what you see so far, do you see any weather issues? Because the CONAB and USDA is kind of projecting that 170, 169 million metric tons. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that Brazil can reach that?
I think it's too early to talk about the harvest because soybeans has 1 month, 40 days. The I think it's too early. I think is gonna be a good crop, a full crop, but I think it's too early to talk about this.
I can see that. A lot can go wrong yet because we have a long growing season, so a lot can go
Yeah,
wrong.
to harvest in the end of January, and we're gonna stop in April. We have a long time to drive there. And this year, there is one thing different than other years. Okay, uh, Brazil started to plant a little bit early, a little bit late, sorry, than other years. For example, let's talk about Mato Grosso. Mato Grosso always start to plant in the end of September or first week of October. Okay? This year, the grand part of the plant is is around 12 October and 25 October. Sorry, October 12 and October 25. Okay? Is a little bit late. Yeah. It's not so good to the second crop, to safrinha.
Do you think some of that lateness will have an impact on the second crop of corn that follows it?
Yeah. Farmers talking about decrease around 10 and 15% of the corn area.
I know they say that a lot, but once they get to that point, and then if it's raining well, they might want to risk it and plant that last 10%. But that's some of the conversations that you've had, that maybe 10 or 15% of the second crop corn area will be reduced.
Yeah, because the soybean plant is a little bit late. The costs to grow corn is very expensive nowadays. You can't plant corn, for example, in the end of February. Your yield is very low. You need to plant in in the end of January and the maximum February 20, February 15.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is ideally you'd like to plant that second crop of corn in January, but I know not everyone can do that, so a lot of it runs into February. But by February 20th, you need to be done. But yet every year I see people still planting into March.
Yeah,
That's not you, is it?
yeah.
People like to risk.
Depends the corn price.
Yeah, yeah. The farmers like to risk it, and they don't like leaving the ground fallow.
Yeah, but it's changing too much.
Yeah,
The farmers are learning.
it's
Don't plant after February 20.
yeah, yeah. Because the rainy season starts to slow down in April already,
Yeah, yeah.
and kind of shuts off, in May. Most years,
You
early May it
the
could be.
farmers always need one rain in the first week of May,
Yeah,
and sometimes didn't come.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about what's the mentality of the Brazilian soybean farmer right now going into this season. Are they happy? Are they excited? Are they, what are they feeling? Are they concerned with, the market?
It's not a good moment because the margin is very small, and it's time to look inside your business and try to do something different, reduce costs and reduce other things, and try to increase the yield. But you know how is not easy to increase the yield in Brazil. That depends the climate, depends the other things. Do you know how is? It's not different from USA. Increase yield is very hard. Do you know how is? Your family grows soybeans and corn in USA. Do you know how is to increase?
Yeah, it's not a money making endeavor this year or next year. Just the way the prices have collapsed and the costs are very high, and so you got to really watch what you're spending, and so
It's
yeah,
time
it's the same thing.
to reduce costs. It's time
Yeah,
to reduce costs.
yeah. Everybody that if the guys that own the land and don't have any debt, might are still doing okay, but um, for us mere mortals that have to rent a lot of land, that the profit margin is very narrow. Um, so, talking about yields, are you able to share kind of what's your goal for productivity on your farm? How many sacks per hectare for soybeans?
Soybeans is around 60 bags per hectare, and corn is around 100 bags per hectare.
So that would be about 54 bushels per acre is your targeted yield on soybeans, and then it would be maybe like 95 bushels per acre, 95 bushels per acre on the corn. And so it's pretty comparable on the soybeans to what we would get in the United States. On an average. Obviously, some people get more, some get less, but at least we still got you beat on the corn yields by quite a bit. So our national corn yield, we're targeting 183, and so we're almost twice what it is in Brazil. But you're planting so much more area that it still adds up to a lot.
If we continue increasing the area, the the prices don't go up. But I believe Brazil don't increase the area in the next years, next 2 years, because don't have prices to do this and don't have cash to increase the areas.
That's what I hear about is everybody's broke or doesn't have any money in Brazil, but you had some good years, 2021, 2022, 2023 were good years, right? Did you guys already spend all that on new equipment or what? Where did it all go?
You know, on 1921 and 22, Brazil increased it too much. Mm, planted soybeans on the cattle areas, only in the cattle areas. Do you know cattle areas?
Yeah. It's pasture.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Farmland is pasture.
In Portuguese, we say pasto, pastagem.
Pastagem, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's the image that most Americans have is that all the growth in Brazilian soybean production is just coming from cutting down the rainforest. But that's not really the case. It's mostly coming from the cattle pasture because they have large amounts of cattle pasture that they've had for decades, and it's spread out all over the country.
yeah. Maybe 99% is come from in the cattle areas,
Yeah,
not forest.
yeah.
Okay.
Not that there isn't deforestation happening, but it's not necessarily due to the soybean farmer.
Yeah, yeah. We talking about 19, 21, and 22. Okay. We there was a good years with a good price, and Brazil increased too much soybean area. But in this time is different. The price is not good. Don't have cash for this, and the farmer don't want to do this because we don't have extractor, you don't have employees, we don't have roads, we don't have other things to increase the area. is the moment to try to increase the yield, not increase the area. Okay, farmers in Brazil in this time working to do this, to increase the yield. Only this.
Well, that would be nice, I suppose, to it'd help a little bit. But yet, CONAB is projecting that Brazil is going to increase their area 3% for this next season that's being planted now, which that's another like 3 million acres.
I heard about this, like you, but I don't believe in 3% of increase the soybean area. I don't believe. I don't believe. I think it's too big. Maybe 1%, maybe a half percent, but 3% is too much.
That's what I thought for a long time. Is that the financial metrics did not support increasing the land area that much because, I mean, let's be honest, there's going to be a lot of people that break even or lose money this year in Brazil, just the way that the prices are. And so I don't know why they would rush to go expand another 3%. But maybe there's a lag, like maybe you get into 2025, 26 crop season where reality sets in and they really got to slow it down some more. And we've seen it. It's been a while, but we back in the 2005, prices were so bad that Brazil reduced their area. But things got to get pretty bad for that to happen.
In this year, there is one thing different about cattle areas, about pastagem. Cattle is around 340 reais, is around $50 per arroba.
Yeah, arroba is the weight they use. We use pounds. You guys use arrobas.
Yeah.
Don't make me calculate that. It's confusing.
Meat of cattle, meat of pork are very high in Brazil.
Yeah.
How soybeans is gonna increase in cattle areas?
Okay. So you're saying the cattle farmers are incentivized to maintain their cattle production and their herd rather than convert. In previous years, they were better off to plant soybeans. Now they're better off sticking with the livestock.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
I believe this.
Maybe one more question, and I'll let you ask me a question about the United States agriculture too. But maybe my last question is: what do Brazilian farmers think of the U.S. farmer, or what do Brazilian farmers think of U.S. agriculture?
Very high technology and very good yield and the best lands of the world.
So basically, we're awesome.
Yeah. And very good farmers. Very nice farmers.
Okay. Yeah. That's nice of you. That's nice of you. What questions do you have for me about United States farming or agriculture?
Talk me about the soybeans stocks, because every day I receive the sales from USA to other countries, and demand is good. No, from American soybean.
I would say that our domestic consumption is strong, and our exports are languishing. They aren't terrible, but they're not very good. Our exports, because as you know, we're our biggest buyer, China. We're not getting along with them very well.
USDA Foreign Agriculture Service. Export sales to India, Mexico, and Philippines is from today, and we are taking a look, and demand is high. No, it's a huge demand from the products of USA.
Yeah, I think lately there's been some good announcements of sales, but you got to look at the whole for the season, because we kind of started out, we were way behind, and now it's helping us catch up, but we're not necessarily above where we expect to be. If does that make sense? And so I'm not saying it's terrible, but I don't know that you don't want to get too excited by some of the daily flash sales because it maybe doesn't represent what the overall trend is, if that makes sense.
And tell me what the American farmers think about the Brazilian farmers.
They think that you're the reason that prices are so bad. They want the Brazilian farmer to they want the, you laugh. They think the Brazilian farmer needs to stop expanding. Um, but at the same time, they I think they recognize the growth potential there, and if they were in your shoes, they'd probably be doing the same thing. Um, so many of them think that you're just chopping down the rainforest for all this expansion, which isn't true. I mean, I'm not saying some of that has happened, but um, so there's a little bit of, I think, misperception about where all the growth is coming from. But yeah, I think a lot of them are probably, to be honest, a little bit threatened by the growth there. But others are, I think, curious and want to learn more about Brazil too. I mean, you're a competitor. It doesn't mean that we have to be enemies, but you're still a competitor, and we both want to. We're competing for mostly for the export market, and I don't know that it's something that where the U.S. agriculture is really set up to win at. Um, I don't know that we need to win at it. I think that we could develop more of our own domestic usage here in the United States, consume more, and I say we just let Brazil sell whatever they want to China, and then we just consume it all internally. That's where I think we're headed, because the trend is clear. You look at the last 20 to 30 years, Brazil is went from supplying 20% of the global soybean market to 2/3 of the global soybean market, and it's kind of replaced the United States. So I don't know long term why would that change all of a sudden. Um, but we're not getting along well with China, who is our number one buyer. So I say, just let Brazil have it then, and then, but as long as we can replace that with our own domestic industry, because I feel like we have the technology and resources to do it. It's just a matter of our government getting organized and kind of establishing what the policy and rules are going to be, and then we can make it happen. That would be ideal for me.
And what about the talk me please about the ethanol in USA from corn.
You know,
Americans are increasing the ethanol produced and increasing the percentage in the gasoline.
very, very little. It's nationwide. It's still only 10% ethanol blend. There are some pumps that will offer more than that, but they are not mandated to do that. So you can find pumps that are 15% or 20%. It's not like Brazil where you can find 85, 90% blend pretty much everywhere at every gas station. And so I would say the ethanol production is strong, but it's not really something that's growing, and it hasn't grown for a long time. One thing that we're working on is our creating some carbon pipelines and developing the sustainable aviation fuel markets that I think could be a big improvement for our growth in our industry long term. But without those things, I don't see the ethanol being a growth market. I think hopefully it can just maintain at least what it has because it's an important market. It consumes 40% of our corn production. So it's very important, but unless we can figure something out with our government policy related to biofuels, it's not really something that I see growing a lot. And I know that's starting to change in Brazil, where everyone's wanting to build a corn ethanol plant now.
A lot of ethanol plants of corn are under construction in Mato Grosso and other states, Tocantins, Mato Grosso do Sul, and others. I think is only the we are only beginning. We in the future there are a lot of ethanol plants of corn in Brazil.
I think so too. I think the corn ethanol production in Brazil it's going to completely change the market. But I almost wonder, it doesn't mean it's going to increase production in Brazil, but doesn't mean it's going to increase exports. You could just consume more internally. And you're kind of already seeing that for next year, that your exports aren't necessarily expected to increase all that much in Brazil. So, well, I've kept you for long enough. Do you have any other final comments you want to share with all the farmers in the United States?
I promise we don't gonna increase the area.
You don't think we're going to increase the area?
Yeah, yeah.
At least for this year. But 10 years from now, you're going to increase the area. So that's okay. Well, Gustavo, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we'll be in touch. So
Thank you so much. Thank you for your invite, and we are waiting you here in Brazil.
all right.
Do you come in the
Yeah, I'll be there in 2 weeks.
in December?
I'll be there in December and January.
Okay, nice. We are gonna wait for you. Okay.
All right, very good. Thanks you,
For
sir.
invite.
Futures trading involves risk. The risk of loss in trading futures and/or options is substantial, and each investor and/or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance is not indicative of future results.